Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is
Han Solo. I'm Captain of the Millennium Falcon.
Bond.
James Bond.
Up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane!
It's Superman.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Say hello to my little friend.
Here's Johnny.
And here we go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 23rd installment of Snack and Chat. I hope all of you are having a wonderful week so far. And I know this episode came out a little bit late. I know these Snack and Chat usually comes out on Fridays. I apologize that this one came out on Sunday, but I just was not able to post this episode of Snack and Chat this past Friday. However, we do have a lot of exciting movie news to talk about today, and obviously before we hit up the movie news, I gotta tell you guys what my snack of the day is. And today, my snack of the day is some caramel M&Ms, excuse me. That's right. Take a good look at them. Very nice. These have been on the show, and if you guys saw that episode, you know that I'm a big fan of caramel M&Ms, and that I first tried them at AMC theaters, which will be opening up very soon, and we'll talk about that very soon as well. So, Alright, so now with all that done, let's head into the movie news. And the first topic we're going to talk about today is a new Netflix movie starring Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt called Project Power. And Project Power is about a former soldier team-ups with a cop to find the source behind a dangerous pill that provides temporary superpowers. Now, I saw very little footage of this movie before watching it, but I did know the premise of it, of how somebody can take this pill and it'll give you like a superpower for 5 minutes, but if you do take the pill, you also have a possibility of dying from it. So I did know the premise before watching it, and after watching the film, I wasn't a big fan. Now, let's first talk about the pros here, and the performances are solid. Everyone does a good job in here. It's cool seeing Joseph Gordon-Levitt back. Jamie Foxx is alright. Everybody's solid in here. There's a couple good laughs a little bit in the movie. I also really enjoyed the visuals, especially this one part. I believe it's towards the beginning of the movie, where this one guy basically turns into the Human Torch, he basically turns into fire, and it was pretty creative on how they visualized it. There's a couple of entertaining fight scenes in the movie, especially with Jamie Foxx. There's this one where he fights this one dude who's able to fight with his bones, with his bones in his body, almost like Pop Claw from The Boys. But just at the end of the day, Project Power is kind of a forgettable movie. The villains basically felt like your typical villains. There wasn't really anything memorable about them. I mean, I wasn't really emotionally attached to any of the characters. Now, what I'm about to say next might count as a minor spoiler, if that, but if you don't want to know anything about the story, then I'd probably skip ahead maybe 20 to 30 seconds of the video. Or you can just cover your ears for 20 to 30 seconds if you're watching this when it's premiering on YouTube. But with that said, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, again, it's cool seeing him back in the movies, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character in this film, he's all for protecting his city of New Orleans, and he's all for making it safe. But yet, he's working with a teenage girl in the movie to conquer crime, which could put her character in danger. Now, it's not something that's gonna generally ruin the experience of watching the movie, at least not for me. But it's just something weird that popped out to me about his character, that he's all for protecting New Orleans and making it safe, yet he's working with a teenage girl to conquer crime, which could put her in severe danger. I mean, you could even say the same thing for Batman. He's all for making Gotham City safe, but yet he works with a teenage boy named Robin to fight crime, which could put him in danger. So, I mean, there is that. And at the end of the day, even though this movie has a couple of entertaining fight scenes, the performances are solid, there's good visuals in here. It's just a forgettable movie. But shout out to Casey Neistat, if you're watching this. But shout out to him because he has a little bit of a cameo in this movie. And that was probably my favorite part, or probably the most entertaining part for me, was when he showed up. That was pretty fun to watch. But definitely leave a comment down below of what you thought of the new Netflix film, Project Power. And with that said, let's move on to the next topic. And that is Spider-Man 3. No, not the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3, but the MCU's Spider-Man 3. And it was recently reported that the upcoming Spider-Man 3 movie, starring Tom Holland, of course, and is planned to start shooting after he wraps with Uncharted. I mean, this guy is some busy man, let me tell you. But there's been a rumor of a potential title for the upcoming superhero film. Again, rumored, not confirmed, rumored. And that title is Spider-Man Homesick. So this title basically goes with the other titles of this trilogy, with Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home. But I mean, this title, I mean, it doesn't really bother me. It doesn't really do a whole lot for me. However, if this is to be the official title of the upcoming Spider-Man movie, then, well, that makes me think, well, homesick, so does that mean he's away from home, away from New York, potentially? And I think maybe some people would probably get upset that Spider-Man's not in New York again. And while I think it's cool seeing Spider-Man in New York, I wouldn't get totally upset if he's not going to be in New York or in this one, or for at least most of the movie, like in Far From Home. Plus, for all we know, it doesn't take place in New York, but there's an awesome story lined up for us. I mean, who knows? Maybe the title ends up being Spider-Man 3, Good to Be Home. We'll just have to see what happens. But this title is not like, doesn't really do much for me. It doesn't really bother me. It's just, you know, a title. But leave a comment down below of what you think of this rumored, not confirmed, but rumored Spider-Man 3 title. And with that said, let's move on to the next topic, and this one's a pretty big one, and that is the Paramount Decrees. It was recently announced that the Paramount Decrees, which were first established in 1948, which prevented movie studios from buying up movie theaters, block booking, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. So last year, the Paramount Decrees were sent under review and have now been terminated and no longer exist in the film industry. So, to tell you the truth, I'm not a big fan of this. Because like I said, this prevented studios buying movie theaters. And I don't want Disney or Warner Brothers or someone buying up a movie theater and having the power to just show their movies at that theater, which is what could happen if a studio were to purchase a theater. A studio could just show their movies and not show anybody else's. However, I've also heard that studios probably wouldn't be interested at this time and buying movie theaters, which I understand because, you know, movie theaters aren't in the best spot at the moment. But just the possibility of this being able to happen, I'm just not a big fan of it. And I don't think a lot of people are. Then you also have block booking, which is where a studio, let's just say Warner Brothers as an example, goes to negotiate with AMC. And Warner Brothers says, you're allowed to show Tenet, we'll just say Tenet as an example, for a certain number of weeks, but you must also show these other 5 movies of ours in your theaters as well if you want to play Tenet. So you have to play Tenet as well as these 5 other movies. Now, it doesn't always have to be 5 movies. It could be more, it can be less. I'm just using 5 as an example for this. So the only way, again, AMC can show Tenet is if they show these other 5 movies, which takes up more theater rooms and show times, and giving other companies less time and space to show their films. Now, this is another thing I'm not a big fan of, because let's say I wanted to go see Mulan. I know Mulan isn't coming out in theaters, but let's say I wanted to go see Mulan. And I see that there's a very limited amount of showtimes and screenings for Mulan, because a lot of them are taken up by these 5 other movies again that were a part of the block booking deal for Tenet. Again, this is just an example. And there's not as many showtimes for Mulan, which makes it harder to see. Not only that, but you also have other smaller movie production companies like A24, Roadslide, and others who don't have these big name blockbusters to offer to the theater chains or theaters. And they'd have a harder time of putting out their movies because a bunch of space is already taken up by, let's say, all the big block booking deals that the theater chains did with like a Disney or a Warner Brothers that have these big blockbuster, big profile movies that a bunch of movie theaters want because they make good business. Again, this is just an example. This isn't actually happening right now. This is just an example. But to kind of add on to this, I was listening to Dan Murrell. I don't know if you guys watch him, but I was listening to him kind of break this down. He was talking about how block booking could dramatically impact like smaller mom and pop movie theaters who have very limited number of screens to show movies on. And if Warner Brothers were to come along and make that same deal of you can show Tenet, but you must also play these other 5 movies of ours, then it could prevent these little movie theaters from showing a bunch of other big profile or low profile movies that they want to show in their theater, because a lot of the space is taken up by that block booking deal that they made with Warner Brothers. So again, I'm not a big fan of this, but apparently you're not able to block book until 2 years from now, but still not a big fan of this. And leave a comment down below of what you think of the Paramount Decrees no longer existing in the film industry. And with that said, let's move on to the next and final and main topic today, and that is AMC theaters. I know we've been talking about AMC theaters, it feels like, for decades now. At AMC theaters, talked about its reopening next weekend. You heard me right, folks. Next weekend. Absolutely crazy. And AMC was saying how in honor of their 100th anniversary of their 100-year anniversary of them being in business, they will make movie ticket prices 15 cents on the first day that they've reopened, which was the same amount that a ticket costed in 1920 when AMC theaters first opened. Then after the first day, tickets will cost $5 to go see the re-release of Inception, Back to the Future, Empire Strikes Back, and Black Panther. With that said, I don't know if this is a very smart idea for AMC to have tickets cost 15 cents on the first day. I mean, I get it. It's their 100-year anniversary or whatever. But it's not like AMC theaters is in the best shape right now financially. Obviously, you guys know, I mean, that's all we've been talking about. But maybe AMC thought that making tickets 15 cents on the day that they reopen, maybe it could draw in more people to come on the day that they reopen. I mean, maybe we'll just have to see what happens on the day of the reopening. I hear that ticket sales in the UK are doing very well. However, it is exciting to hear that AMC is reopening, but as much as I'd love to see some of these re-releases, like I'd just absolutely love to see Empire Strikes Back, Back to the Future, Inception. Not as much Black Panther, because I mean, that movie barely came out. But I'd be totally hyped to see some of these movies in theaters, because I've never seen them in theaters, and I think that'd be an absolute blast. But I think I might wait a week or two and kind of see how it goes. But it's definitely going to take a lot for me not being able to go to the movies. But leave a comment down below of not only what you think about this whole thing of AMC making their tickets 15 cents, but are you going to go to the movies once they reopen, or when are you going to go back to the movies? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see how AMC theaters does in the United States when they reopen next weekend. And with that said, Thank you for joining me on this installment of Snack and Chat. I hope all of you had a great time watching. Leave a comment down below of what you think of all the topics that we ran down through today on this installment of Snack and Chat. And don't forget to like and subscribe because that is very important. And also follow me on Instagram at The Kid Critic. You could also follow me on Letterboxd at Kid Critic. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always in every single video, look out for the next video or review. And peace.